Old school Dungeons & Dragons game accessories are a lot of fun to look at, in my opinion, especially some of the earliest, such as the Monster and Treasure assortment and Dungeon Geomorphs, as they give a good reflection on how people were playing the game at this time. For this video, I'd like to take a stroll down memory lane and look over some of these, not only the Monster and Treasure assortment and Dungeon Geomorphs, but also some advanced Dungeons & Dragons accessories as well. The Rogues Gallery, the Dungeon Master's Adventure Log, and the Permanent Player Character Record Sheet. Coming right up on RPG Retro Reviews. Hello everyone, I'm Captain Courageous and I review old school modules and games and try to give them a fun and informative analysis. This week I'm really punching that nostalgia button for you and skimming through some forgotten but beloved old school D&D game accessories, both for the Dungeon Master and the player, going back to the earliest days of the game. The first two accessories I'm going to go over were frequently bought or found together and were included in the earliest printings of the Holmes Basics set of Dungeons & Dragons, the Monster and Treasure assortment, and Dungeon Geomorphs. The idea here being that the DM could quickly cobble together a dungeon, stock it with appropriate level monsters, and be ready to play with minimal preparation. Both the Geomorphs and the Monster and Treasure assortment were sold in packs for dungeon levels 1 to 3, 4 to 6, and 7 to 9 respectively. The Dungeon Geomorph packs were Set 1 Basic Dungeons, Set 2 Caves and Caverns, and Set 3 the Lower Dungeons. There was also Outdoor Geomorph sets sold as well. The idea here being that these sheets could be cut apart and turned and assembled in a myriad of different combinations to quickly create complex dungeon levels. For this purpose, they were actually pretty handy, and dungeon masters back in the day would typically buy several packs at a time, cut them apart, and then scotch tape the Dungeon Geomorphs together to form a massive mega dungeon level. Of course, this product was originally sold in 1977, long before PDFs, printers, and even photocopiers were ubiquitous, and apparently the blue ink was meant to thwart the photocopiers of the day, though I can't speak to exactly how successful that would have been. In any event, these days, of course, if you wanted to use a product like this, you could use your favorite graphics program such as Photoshop or Paint.net and cut and assemble the pieces how you would like long before you print them out. But it's kind of fun to actually print these out and cut them apart and fool around with them at the table, seeing what combinations you can come up with as you see here. I also think these are a bit room dense, and before printing them I might blew out a good 30% of the rooms. I suspect the reason for this originally was to save on ink. Gary Gygax was the author of this product, and his instructions suggest that 75% of the room should be empty, with 25% containing monsters, treasures, and other notable items. Not all the rooms on the maps have access points, so either a door or a secret door could be manually added according to the DM's tastes. And I have to admit, playing around with these for this video was a lot of fun. Of course, when it comes to stocking your dungeon, you could pilfer through the D&D books, and we're talking about original D&D and its supplements Greyhawk, Blackmoor, and Eldritch Wizardry. So you can see how handy it might have been to have monsters compiled in this manner by level and capability in sets of 100, so you could randomly determine what was there by rolling dice, although the instructions do recommend specific placement and choice by the DM. But using this supplement, you could simply say room 1, monster number 37, rather than writing out the entire stat block each time said monster is to be encountered. Kind of handy. The notation here is also pretty interesting as well from a historical perspective. Note AL equals level of attack, level by monster as expressed by the monster's base number to score a hit on an unarmored opponent, which in original D&D was armor class 9, a kind of precursor to THAC0. After the monster entries, there are some 100 treasure listings by dungeon level as well, mostly coin amounts, which are kind of fun in that it gives insight as to what the game author's expectation would have been, thus providing newbie DMs with a hard and fast guideline as to how to stock their own creations. There are examples given as to what a dungeon entry might look like using the listings provided, and as you can see here, it would indeed make your notation pretty quick and easy. Once again, keeping in mind the time frame of this release, the mid-1970s, when people were using spiral-bound notebooks and handwritten entries using pens and paper, this could be quite the time saver. For me, however, the fun here is a peek into how people were playing the game during this time frame, and clearly dungeon exploration was the primary focus of play. In addition, I did have a bit of fun recreating these using the PDFs available through DriveThruRPG. I think these replicas turned out pretty cool. What do you think? I know some of you have been around long enough to have used these accessories. I'd love to hear some stories about your use and adventures you have with them in the comments, so please feel free to give out your details. Next, I'd like to turn my attention to another supplement that is rather near and dear to my heart, the AD&D First Edition Rogues Gallery. If you wanted to point out a place that modern iterations of the game could benefit from reprinting, this one would be at the top of my list, especially for a game like 5th edition D&D, where creating individual NPCs can be a rather daunting and grueling task. A supplement like this for modern D&D would be a major help for 5EDMs, in my opinion. Old school NPCs, conversely, were really not all that difficult to whip up on the fly, but generating several, as in the case of hirelings, in those cases, this is still invaluable. To old school DMs, if you're playing a retro clone and you don't have this one, pause this video and help the channel out too by going to DriveThruRPG and get it now. An affiliate link is in the description. I have this PDF from DriveThruRPG, and it is a top-notch searchable scan of the original. On the surface, one might not immediately see the benefit of having a list of NPCs, but this thing is massive, and every character class is represented with full stats, low scores and all. Having this gem at your fingertips behind the screen assures that your players will never catch you off guard needing to come up with some high-level NPC again. The group listings are fairly useful. Guard patrols, bandits, buccaneers, pilgrims, and so forth. Provides a quick glance lookup of what groups should probably consist of, especially useful for a newbie dungeon master. In addition to the stats, though, this supplement comes with detailed write-ups for the characters of many TSR staffers and players at the time. Who doesn't want to know the story, background, and game statistics of such legendary Dungeons & Dragons characters as the magic user Big B, Tensor, and Mordenkainen, Rob Kuntz's character Robilar as well, and so many other classic NPCs from D&D Legendary. Surprisingly, this supplement also has some of the best artwork from such D&D artists as Jeff D., David S. LaForce, Earl Otis, and Darlene Peckle, as you can see here. This one is definitely worth your time. Now, for pure Dungeon Master usefulness, for me at least, the Dungeon Master's Adventures log is probably one of the more useful things you can have. Here you can list all the stats of your player characters, your own wandering monsters tables, what treasures the heroes have found, as well as make some notes on things that have taken place during a session. Once again, still useful if you're playing a retro clone. I wouldn't rush to grab the PDF for this one though. It's moderately okay. The more printer-friendly version is the Mad Irishman's reproduction, which a link is in the description for that. So check those out. There's a lot of Mad Irishman products there for first edition that you'll probably find useful. If you have not visited his website, something you must check out. Finally, the most ostentatious supplement TSR ever put out, in my opinion, is the player character permanent character record. Here you'll find what is essentially a massive character sheet, but spread over several pages and meant to be placed in a loose leaf notebook, and pretty much kept as a diary of your character's exploits, statistics, and adventures through an entire campaign. If you're a player that really enjoys getting into the minutia of your character, this might have a certain level of appeal for you. It's kind of neat. It has a place for your character portrait, a place to list by date the character's adventures, and at the bottom of one page is the character's last will and testament. And I can just see how this would be written out. I, Felgar the Brave, leave all my earthly possessions for my twin brother, Anglar the Braver, or something to that effect. This also came with 4 pages that could be filled out as the character went up in level. The nice thing about using this today is you could print out as many of these as you want, but let me suggest that you get the PDF replica from Mad Irishman's page, as I suggested earlier. He did a great job on it, and then you can turn off that blue color using the Adobe PDF features and actually print on blue paper. And as you can see here, it looks great and is a great reproduction of what it looked like back in the day, just for fun, of course. And those are some of my favorite old odd accessories from Dungeons & Dragons past. What accessories did you like or enjoy that were some of your favorites from old school D&D? Why don't you let us know in the comments below? And thank you so much for watching. I'd like to take a moment to thank my patrons. Without you, this channel is not possible. Please give this video a like, comment, and share. Check out my Teespring store for great gaming swag, t-shirts, carry bags, coffee cups, and more. Join the channel's Facebook page, RPG Retro Reviews, and consider supporting the channel by becoming a patron yourself. Or alternatively, you can just send a tip through the PayPal tip jar or leave a tip through Super Thanks. As always, my friends, may your D20 roll true and game on.